All right, good evening, everyone. We are ready to get started with our October 17th work session. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, beginning with roll call. Dr. Hooker?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Heidi Hensley.
Here.
Ms. Claudia Butts. Ms. Linda Davis.
Here.
Dr. Patricia Yeager.
Here.
Mr. Tim Denson. Dr. Mombi Anderson.
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant.
Here.
Ms. Nicole Hull. And Mr. Mark Evans.
Here.
All right, looks like we have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started. We lost somebody. Where did Dr. Gant go?
Oh, she's there in chair.
Oh. I said she just left. Okay, we have a quorum and we are ready to get started with our agenda items. First on the list is the President's Board report. I do not have a lot to discuss today, particularly because we'll be together for a few hours this weekend. But I did want to remind you all, as these items come up today, that I did share an email with the draft of the building renaming policy, FDC, the draft that Ms. Bonet, thank you very much, put together. I don't think she's there, but put together. So when we get to that conversation, that's the draft that we'll be using to guide our conversation, not the old policy. So we'll start with that as our initial draft, and then whatever you all have in terms of concerns or edits, revisions, we can go from there. There was also in our last board report a line item of policy, I cannot remember the name of it, but the leave policy that Dr. Gant wanted us to review. So Ms. Bonet did put some suggested edits together, either saying yes, they were willing to accommodate some of those changes, or no, and here's why. So you can look through the board update for those notes from Ms. Bonet as well, as we have the policy discussion surrounding personnel leave. We do have our retreat tomorrow beginning at 6 to 9 at the Rivet Hotel, and then back again on Saturday morning from 9 until 3. The agenda was shared with you all at last month's email from me, so you can review that, but I'll also share that back out tomorrow morning for your information. We do have a facilitator coming to do some professional development with us. If you have not yet completed your self-assessment, we really need that done ASAP. She needs that in advance, so she has an agenda built for the facilitation, and she knows where we're starting off. So please make sure you finished up your assessment. I think most of us are done. And unless, Dr. Evans, do you have any?
No.
Okay, all right. And that's it for me for the President's Board report. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, now we will move on to item 4, policy updates. So A is our policies that are up for review. As a reminder, these are policies that are now at the point where they will require board feedback before moving on to the next phase of public comment and then the vote. So this is an initial conversation of these policies. Let's start with FDC, naming facilities. And I can start at the end and then work my way down for any thoughts or comments on the policy FDC.
I just wanted to clarify that what you sent to us, Dr. Anderson, that's still the same thing that's in the policy review inside Assembly, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
I just
I
wanted to be
copied
sure.
and pasted it right out of Assembly.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I do have a few thoughts, but I also recognize this is going to go out for public review.
Yes.
And so I think it's just as important to, to get the feedback from stakeholders. I guess to sort of sum up where my concerns would be, it's in two places. One, that while I do understand this was a part of the, the motion that we made to review this policy, and I do actually think it's important to review this policy, I think that having such substantial changes after we rename a school or two schools, I don't know, it still seems a bit reactive, and not necessarily based on the length of time, but because the policy is really different. And it actually places the pretty much the sole power in the hands of, yes, the committee, but all of, it sort of flows through the superintendent. And so, and I think that's great because we have a great superintendent. I also know the tenure of superintendents, as well as building principals. And I know that they were going to be like two people that were going to be on the committee. But I think that when people come forward and they, whether it passes or not, they come forward and they request conversations and consideration for a space, a building, or an area. Oftentimes, those individuals have impacted our school and districts in significant ways. And also, the people that are coming forward have very strong roots in Athens, or their families do. And so I have concerns, that to me, it shifts that responsibility from the board, because your board members are always going to be members of your community. Now, if it goes through a process and fails, that's on the board, but that it has to go through, a committee of stakeholders who may or may not be rooted in Athens. I have concerns about that. So I'm not opposed to putting it out for review, but there's a lot in here because that's most of what it outlines that I have concerns about. I don't recall when we renamed Stroud, and this just could be my memory, 4th Street, that there was such a significant shift in policy, and I don't know what to make of that, if anything, but those are my concerns.
Okay. Are there other, Mr. Denson, I think we were just going to go down the line and see what everybody's thoughts were. Mr. Denson? Policy FDC?
Can you come back to me since I'm still
Sure.
using it? Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Yeager?
Yeah, I had a question. Well, first I have a noodly academic-y suggestion is to change the headers. They're all Roman numerals, even though the insets are, so you have like capital I, capital II, and then the inset is capital I. I would suggest you change that to some like 1, 2, 3 in a different font. Little I's or something. That's sort of noodly because it's hard to say part I, and it means lots of different things. So that noodly thing being said, I do question about, so does the naming of entities other than schools follow this whole process? So, and again, I'm trying to tell you which section I'm specifically talking about, and it's not clear because I can't tell you the number. But okay, so naming or renaming of school buildings, areas within a building, or district facilities. That's what's in item I under purpose. But then item 3, capital I3, school renaming criteria, it talks about renaming schools. So where does the process for, say, naming a baseball field or naming a room in a building after someone, does that have to follow this whole school renaming criteria, or is that a separate process? Does that make sense, what my question is? So do we have to have a committee of 15 to rename the baseball field, for example? Or is that just for schools?
Right. The way I read it is it's for II, naming of new schools or district buildings, I don't know. renaming of existing schools or district buildings, and then the third one is naming of areas within a building, including
So
common
all
spaces,
three of those
presentations.
things have to go through the entire school renaming criteria. Is that what I understand?
Right, because they're not then later down separated into other,
Right, but
Other-
I
yeah.
felt like there was going to be another section that would talk about those other two things, but there wasn't. So we
Yeah.
just have one process, and it's the same for whether we're renaming an entire school or whether we're making a name for a room in a building. That doesn't seem right to me. Seems like
Yeah.
we should have different processes.
yeah. I mean, that's how it reads currently.
Okay.
So,
That's-
again, this is an initial conversation, so
Yeah,
if
okay.
these are
Well,
things that we want
that's
to
my
see.
main concern, is that you're asking for an incredible amount of work for a room in a building or a field or something that seems much simpler. I get it for why we're trying to do it for an entire school, although I do hear you when you say this seems reactive, but it seems like there should be a simpler process for some of the smaller requests.
Okay.
But those are my two comments. It would be easier to tell you which section I was talking about if it was numbered differently.
All right, Ms. Davis?
So my comments aren't as succinct, so I'll simply say that before we had that criteria of naming things, there was a rationale behind that, and I'm not confident that we necessarily have seeing it. I don't see anything in here that makes it easier for people to have their wishes known and brought to the board. I'm very concerned, and thank you so much for articulating it so clearly, Dr. Gant, the exclusion of the people that were elected to represent the community. And so I would love to see more parity in that space of the board's participation in this.
Okay. Ms. Denson? Sorry, Ms. Hensley?
I actually feel like it does say that there are 2 board members that would be on this committee. I feel like, I came on this, like, right when all of this was happening, and I feel like a lot of the rhetoric I was hearing was that the community didn't feel as involved as they would like to feel involved. And so I think this new language does reflect a broader sense of the community and the principals and everybody having a part, as opposed to it being kind of controlled by the board. That, I'm just giving my 2 cents because we're talking about the changes here. I see these changes actually reflect that the board is still involved, and I think that is really important, but it also pulls in students, parents of students, staff members, district members. I do understand what you're saying about people being in the community and past, like having that knowledge of CCSD, and I think by what I'm reading, I do feel like we have written in that we are going to consider that. But I don't see where the board's not involved here, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It does say that 2 board members would be involved, but it gives, I guess, the community more of a sense of responsibility as well. And I like that piece of it.
Okay. All right. Mr. Evans?
I agree with Ms. Hensley. I think that if you look at V, where they make up the committee membership, that you do get this broad sense of everything in there, and that, I would imagine that one of the school board members, and maybe we need to be more explicit about this, is if that school is in your district, and then someone from another person from outside. I think maybe if we added that might be something that we could, that would clarify that and clear that up. That's my only comment. I kind of like this policy, but like with all policies, we're not going to know how it's going to work until we run it through. And so, thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Back to Mr. Denson. Did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, just a few things. For the committee process, I'm I'm not necessarily against it. I'm not saying it couldn't be maybe improved with changing some of the numbers, but I do kind of like the participants who are named here. The concerns I have, one of them is on the part 11, the board approval. I don't understand the part where it says like that the superintendent will bring forth a name recommendation, while it says the committee can recommend up to 3 and list a preference. To me, it seems just a much better situation where this board will have some agency in this, and especially agency that their direction that we're receiving from the public and students and such, that if all 3 of those were listed as possibilities with the order of preference, and that the board chooses instead of just doing a thumbs up, thumbs down on one name brought forward. So that part I definitely think could and should be changed. I understand the idea on part 13 on the frequency of school renamings, because that is a concern that I have of just having these things come monthly all the time. But at the same time, I guess I don't like this. I would hate to see a situation come about where there is real community need or desire to change a name because of some kind of situation, tragic situation, who knows what. But then the board saying like, oh, I wish we could, but we changed a school already in January, so we can't do it for 2 years. So maybe some flexibility in that. And then the last thing I'll say is, my other concern is, I've looked at other policies that other communities have, and one of the things they have is a threshold of community interest to be able to bring a name forward, usually somehow in, a number of signatures signed on, say like you have to get 100 signatures within the school boundaries of this school for us to do it, rather than, because the way this reads now is that, I mean, right now tonight we could have 10 people show up asking for 10 different name changes, and according to this, they could all be honored. So maybe having some kind of threshold that we want to see to really show that there is widespread community interest. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I think that we got everyone's feedback on this first draft. Mine are very similar to Ms. Hensley and Dr. Evans. I remember that this policy specifically was so heavily discussed when we were talking about renaming the 2 schools, that there was a recognition that we did need more community input. And that was part of the conversation that, if I remember right, it was the consensus of the board that we needed to revisit this policy and change it or amend it so that we did have more community input. So I do appreciate that this has much more involvement of community members from the very beginning. But I also do recognize that this policy does largely take the role of the board to a sort of secondary or tertiary level. And so I think some of the spaces where the board could be more involved, for example, in the old policy, one of the first things that that was stated in that policy was that members of the community needed to speak with a board member or board members to see if there was even an interest between the board and superintendent in pursuing any facility name changes. And that language is no longer here. And so what it seems to me with this new language is that this is almost entirely from the initiation all the way to the voting. The voting is where the board has, most of the role, but up until then, the board is largely a secondary or tertiary decision maker. And I think that one of the big responsibilities of a board is to participate in naming facilities. Other than governance of the superintendent and the budget, this is really one of the bigger roles that we have. So that's, I think, some space where the language, for me, could be amended to, one, from the beginning of this policy, have board member participation where community members do need to engage with their board members, whether it's the person who's in their district or the school where the district where the school is, initiate that conversation with a board member and then bring in the superintendent and then move forward with whether the full board wants to even engage in the conversation to begin with. I think that that's an important piece to this policy that is no longer here. The other piece, I agree with Mr. Denson. I think that Athens has so many different communities that all have a big stake in what happens to the future of our schools, that it would be really nice to see more unity and inclusion for all communities when we move forward with decisions from the board. I don't know if the signature thing, I'm not sure about knocking door to door and trying to get 100 signatures, but I think that there should be some way of gauging whether or not there's a large sort of constituency agreement that we want to move forward with renaming. I don't know what that looks like, though. I'm not sure if I see the vision that Mr. Denson has brought forth, but something. And otherwise, I think that this is a decent start to a policy, but what I would ask of you all, I will synthesize the thoughts that you had, and I will share them out in an email. And if you could just review those, what I write down, and edit it to reflect your true feelings. I don't want to misrepresent anything that you said. And then I will send all of that together to Ms. Bonet for a second draft for us to discuss at our next meeting, if that's all right with you all. Okay. And Dr. Hooker, did you have any input into this draft?
Ms. Bonet and I discussed part of this draft as she was looking at the other school policies concerning the renaming of schools, so I did have input with her concerning that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yes, Dr. Gant?
To clarify, so you're going to send that out to us, but it's still going to go out for public review, or where does it go from
I
here?
think we need to see another draft
Okay,
before it goes out for public comment.
okay, all right.
I think we need to sort of have more of a consensus that we like the language, because if it goes out for public comment and then comes back to the board for a vote and we're split, that the work would have been moot, right? So I'd like to see more consensus before we send it out for public comment. Does that sound okay? Okay. All right. Okay, so we will move on to policy GBRH, professional personnel leaves and absences. And if you remember, Dr. Gant submitted some recommendations for changes. And again, Ms. Bonet did include some thoughts on the individual level changes that Dr. Gant had recommended. I did not get any other board member revision recommendations. So we are working, I think, exclusively on the changes that Dr. Gant wanted to see, and then Mrs. Bonet's response to those changes. So what you're seeing in front of you is the draft as is based on those two conversations. All right, I'm opening the floor for conversation or for thoughts. Dr. Gant, would you like to start since this language was largely?
Let me see if I can switch. This is GBRH, right?
Correct.
Yes, so I did, I noticed that there was that significant change with the sick leave as far as how many days could be used, like of the sick leave for the health of a child. I think that was I think I'm looking at the most, or at least this is what I made notes on. That's in section A2. And then I noticed that there were the changes in E, an increase in the, so to reflect there, an increase in the sick leave days that may be used for personal leave in E. And so I really do appreciate those, those changes that were made. I hear the, I still want to advocate for some of those other changes. that were recommended. There was still no change in the amount of sick leave that's been earned. And I just think that's important, honestly, post-COVID. It's just been, there's so much going on and so many things and so many ways that families have been impacted. And that's not the only reason, but I do think that just having more sick leave earned could be helpful. I also did not see a change in the PSERS, and I think I'm looking at the most updated version, that at least those individuals, and we're talking about our classified staff, who do not earn the type of retirement in TRS, that they would have something for that 0 to 19 category. I think right now, let's see, let me scroll down. I think it was the 0 to 19 that earns nothing if they have those days left. I also noticed that just want to continue to advocate for some education leave. And then the turnaround time to actually request personal leave, because, in many situations, many of our families, it may not be like an illness, but it could be any other situation that a family may be experiencing that is not conducive to being able to request leave that early. And it's asking them, to request to leave, to use personal leave. I think it was 7 days. And I think that's ideal if you have a lot of resources. But, in our community, sometimes people experience emergencies that aren't sick emergencies. They are just sort of life emergencies and emergencies of not having enough resources. And so wanted to advocate for that as well. And then I know that we've been doing a lot with mental health and wellness with like the efforts that we have. And technically that can be considered under personal leave. But I think it would be a step in the right direction to have some, even if it's a day or something dedicated to wellness. And so those are things that are that I would like to, ask the district to consider, and my board colleagues, as well as community members, and also putting this back to teachers and classified staff, because these are just my thoughts, but I over time, I've heard from different people about different things that fall under this. And so I really would like to hear from our classified people and our teachers about what their feedback is as well. And I've been reaching out and I'll continue doing that, but I would like to see the district, do that a little bit more as well, so that this product, just not my ideas or just our colleagues, but also people that it impacts.
All right, any other thoughts? Okay. Ms. Hensley, I see you.
Well, I agree with Dr. Gant. I think this goes towards student achievement. I know that we don't want teachers to be out per se at all, but I also feel like the health of our staff, not just our teachers, but our staff in general, is critical for retainment, all of it. I think those are good suggestions for teachers, and we're just staff in general, to have that extra incentive. I know we're working really hard at retention, and this could be, it might be a small way, but it could be a way to help, really support the people that are on the ground. So I agree with Dr. Gant.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Denson.
Yeah, I'll just briefly say, and I appreciate Dr. Gant taking the lead and with some of these changes and putting them forward, and definitely strongly agree with the idea of the mental health day. I understand that it's like adding another day, but really, and I think that there's actually a lot of statistics that show this, that if you give that mental health day, that could end up actually ensuring that employee is attending more other days that they might miss if things had gotten a little bit worse and stuff. So, yeah, I think that would be a wise investment also.
Okay. And just for some clarification, Dr. Gant, when you shared the initial drafts that I don't remember seeing wellness days on that. I don't remember seeing the education leave on that either. So are these new, perhaps I'm trying to find it in my documents and I cannot find it.
You know, you are correct with the wellness leave.
Okay.
That was just in preparing and then looking at some of the changes that had been made and had not been made and thinking through. But I thought if I didn't put the education leave in there, that was an error. I know I mentioned it maybe at one of our meetings when this first came up and we said that we would maybe delay it, but that may have been an error on my part.
Yeah, I finally found it and just pulled it up, and I don't see, just from a cursory review, I don't see that on here.
And so maybe that could have been an error. I had these notes first on a hard copy, and then I transferred it into a document, and then I copied that and made a new document and shared it with you. And so I do apologize if that piece seems new, but that is something I'm pretty sure. I would have to go back and check the board meetings, but I think I may have mentioned just very briefly when we briefed over this policy. Yeah.
Okay. I do remember it in conversation about a year ago, because the comparison between UGA's leave policies was made, and they do have education leave, 8 hours, I think, a month, if I remember right. I think so. I think it's 8 hours. I don't know. I can't remember. It might be 8 hours I can't remember. Anyway, I do remember the conversation. I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't in the review. Okay. All right. So what I'm hearing is a return to revising this copy, but also sharing it out to public comment to see if community members have feedback that it is either similar or different to the current draft that is listed. Is that what I'm hearing everyone say? Okay, so share this for community input, but then also share our recommended changes to Ms. Bonez so that we're getting both of those things at the same time? Yeah? Okay.
Question.
Yes, Ms. Davis?
And this is, yeah, I'm fine with what we're doing now. Just as I was reading this, I could not, because I'm not from the school system. So as we classify these days of absence, is there a thing that says this one is paid, this one counts towards your retirement, or what is the value of these multiple classifications? How are they used?
So I think we'll need some feedback from HR on this. My understanding is sick leave is accumulated through your retirement, but annual leave is just accumulated through your check while you're still employed. But that's very rudimentary.
And I'll ask Ms. Angie Newby, who's substituting for Dr. Blankenship today, to respond to that.
And it doesn't have to be here, but even as we put it out for public comment, I think it would make the evaluation of it more meaningful to understand the implications of those decisions that we're trying to make. Okay, thank you.
But yes, so our sick leave is, everyone earns it a day and a quarter per month, and any unused sick leave, if you have a total of at least 60 days at retirement, then TRS will let you use those unused days toward sick leave service credit, towards retirement service credit. But the sick leave is the only thing that is beneficial at retirement, not the vacation.
But
And those are for the individuals who fall under TRS.
But they're both, while the employee is in the district, they are both paid out of CCSD's personnel budget, right?
Correct.
Okay. So it's not like partially paid by the state, for example? Okay,
No.
okay. So I guess to answer Ms. Davis's question, it is all from the CCSD budget except for the 60 plus sick days once they have retired. Then TRS kicks that in. Yeah. Is there a way that we could get that language like, just on a, so that when we send this policy to public comment, that can sort of be an amendment to, not an amendment, addendum to that policy?
Yes, I will get that information to Ms. Boness.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yes, Dr. Gant?
You may have mentioned this, but also, and I guess this would need to be something that the district would be okay with, or Dr. Hooker, but also getting feedback from our teachers and classified staff. I know we don't have well, I think there was one that was going to be started, like a group or something, like a steering committee that you had started, but maybe being able to get some feedback from, those two groups as well.
And we have a TAB meeting, I believe, November the 7th. We have a classified, and I'm looking at Dr. Scott or Ms. Palmer, who keeps my calendar. December is classified, but and I know that Dr. Askew meets with bus drivers, nutritional workers, custodial workers on a quarterly basis, and that should be coming up very soon, and he can also get input from them as well. Okay?
And then I think the only people that would be left would be our paraprofessionals.
And they're part of our classified advisory group.
Advisory, okay,
Yes.
thanks.
For follow-up, would it be possible to get just like a brief write-up of what their thoughts are after those meetings, so we have a better idea of what to advocate for at our next meeting?
Yes, we can do that, and I'll work with Ms. Bonace since we're not meeting with our classified group until December, is to send out an email with this and get their input on that as well. So
Okay.
we can have something to you before, I believe our next meeting is November 14th, 12th, or 14th. 12th is a Tuesday.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll look for that, and that will, I guess, aid in our follow-up conversation to this policy after we also get public comments. Okay, so I think we are ready to move on to the next one, and that is graduation requirements, policy IHF. The floor is open for comments. Yes, Ms. Davis?
So I've read this a couple of times, and what I'm not clear on, and this is technically a question, is this the policy and the reg, or is there a reg that goes with this policy?
Dr. Scott.
So what you're looking at, IHF is the policy, and then for the reg, then that's looking specifically at the program of study.
Okay, where do I get access to the program of study?
So the program of study is currently on the current one that was shared last year for this current year is on the website
That's
currently.
that big document, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
For clarification, Ms., sorry, Dr. Scott, Dr. Scott, the regs that are in our assembly under IHF, there's currently an adopted draft from 2022 and a working draft right now. So IHF Reg 1 and then IHF Reg 2. Are those aren't the ones that are on the website, or are they the same ones?
I'll have to look at the ones that are currently under assembly, but the one on the website is the 2024-25 school year program of study
Okay,
that was shared with the board and approved by the board last year.
okay. All right. Okay, other questions? Yes, Dr.
So they removed the web link from the policy to the program of study. Is that just because that link changes, or is there a reason why we removed the link? Because that would have been helpful to answer
Yeah,
Linda's question.
the
It
link changes.
It changes from one to, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay. If it's helpful, we could find the link on the website and share it out, just so everybody's looking at the same thing, if that's helpful. Okay. All right. Any other thoughts? Okay. Oh, yes, Dr. Gant.
I just wanted to clarify, because this is under our policies to be considered, right?
Yes.
To be reviewed, okay. Under 3, like under the requirements, where it states that the students, under 3B, where it states that the students have to have be enrolled for a minimum of 8 semesters, and then it gives some situations in which the student might actually not be. I know there have been just a few, so I don't want to misrepresent that this is everybody's case, but like where we have one where it says students who are eligible may take college credits and earn whatever, earn those credits toward their high school diploma. But then students with a hardship, they have to request a waiver. So it sort of adds this process for students that have a hardship. And so I'm just wondering, I guess this probably would be a question for the document, but I'll just put it out there, like what are the thoughts around like loosening some of the requirements? So when you have students who may finish early, but maybe they're not gonna, take college courses, and maybe they may not quite fit the criteria for the hardship. I don't know what the criteria are for the hardship actually either. But I wonder if there is some, some flexibility or maybe discussions that can be had here that may make this process either just a little bit easier for those that are requesting the hardship, or that may loosen it, or is it a state law that they have to be enrolled for 8 semesters, even though, even in the case that they've gotten their credits? Because if it's a state law, all of that would be, you disregard what I said, but.
So we do currently have a process that allows students to apply for early graduation if they've met the requirements for graduation.
Okay, so then they don't have to necessarily
Enroll in
Enroll,
dual enrollment
okay.
or anything like that. No,
Okay.
they just have to go through the counseling department to submit the request for early graduation.
Okay, and then Dr. Scott, can I follow up on that? 2 things. How old is that process? Is that a new process or it's been here for a while?
I do not know how old it is.
Okay.
But it has been in place, I know, since I've been at the district office.
Okay. And then secondly, if they don't have, let's just say they have 1 class left. So, which means they do have to come on campus for that 1 class. Do they then still have to enroll in other courses to fill out their schedule?
Yes.
Okay.
They do have to enroll in other courses. It would be elective courses in order to be considered a student, a full-time student. A lot of students opt to do work-based learning, which we do encourage them to look into doing if they aren't necessarily interested in doing the dual enrollment to get the college credits. We also encourage them to explore some of the pathways that are available through the Career Academy.
Okay, I see. And so in that event, they still have to come on campus, and it can't just be I just have my 1 class, if you in college, you just have 1 class for that semester. I mean, it may have implications, but it won't have implications for, obtaining the degree.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for answering those. I think that's sort of where some of my concern might be, students who, but I couldn't tell how much of it was law, we absolutely had to have, but students that may not fit neatly. I do think it's good that they're routed into our career pathways, because that, that helps them in the program. But in the event you have a student who's done and maybe they just need to go home and help at home, then they have to enroll in electives, and we don't have our electives, I think there's work, there is some work to be done with what we actually offer. And so just trying to figure out how do we, create a policy that complies with the law but gives a little bit of flexibility for different situations.
Okay. Ms. Davis?
So I was hesitant to ask this question because it's kind of loaded with a lot of history that I have. So when I read this statement in 3A under requirements, and we changed it from, what is it, the Clark County School District shall provide secondary school curriculum and instructional and support services that reflect the high school graduation and state assessment requirements. And before it said assist all students or assist in developing their unique potential to function in society as they advance in their educational and work pursuits. We've changed that language to empower all students to fulfill their potential. That's pretty much aligned with our values. What are we losing in that? Or are we losing anything in that? What do the students gain by us making this statement? And are we creating any barriers or any barriers to them getting to their full potential? It feels like we're kind of lowering the standards when I read that as compared to what we previously said. Does that make sense? And it's okay if it doesn't make sense to anybody but me, but that's what I read when I read this.
Thank you for that statement, Ms. Davis, but I don't think we're lowering the standards by using words that we have in our strategic plan. We're not lowering the standards for our students. We're assisting them to reach, empowering them to fulfill their goal. I don't see in any way that we're lowering standards by changing the wording of that. But I could be wrong.
Thank you. That would be my objection to that language, but thank you.
Okay. All right, so I heard Dr. Gant mention maybe wanting some clarity on 3B, is that correct? Regarding the hardship waiver request and also students not needing to be fully enrolled.
Yes, so, and Dr. Scott did provide the
Okay.
she addressed what my concern was about 3B2.
Okay.
But yeah, but this is going to go out for public comment, right?
It is,
Yeah,
correct.
so.
Okay. And then we've heard Ms. Davis's request to return to the original language in 3A rather than the amended language. Are there other thoughts on this policy before we share it out for public comment? Okay. All right, so policies. Sorry, let me go back to my meetings. Policies. Here we are. Okay. Okay, so policies, FDC naming facilities will return to the district for further revision, and then come back to the board for additional discussion, and hopefully we'll be able to have more of a consensus on the new language before moving forward with public comment. Policy GBRH will move forward for public comment and will also be shared with our classified staff at various meetings that the district will have with their constituents. The district will share some of that feedback from our classified staff back to us, as well as our certified staff, back to us for our November meeting, but it will also go out for public comment. And then policy IHF will go out for public comment. A couple of members did have some requests for either discussing further or going back to the original language, but I think at this point it's probably safe to just go ahead and send it out for public comment and then have further discussion in November once we've received that compilation of comments. So those three policies are now they're now ready, Ms. Palmer, for public comment. All right, now let's move forward to policies for board approval. We've got 5. Hopefully we can move through these as we've had conversations about these in previous meetings. Board Policy GBRIG, Federal Family and Medical Leave Act Policy. Any thoughts, comments? Okay. Policy GCI, Classified Personnel Evaluation. Yes, Dr. Gant? Thank you.
I think I'm going to share what I shared last time. I think if there were a process for our classified staff, I think it would be helpful. And seeing as, I didn't see that, I don't think I saw that added. Yes, an appeal process, just to sort of equal those grounds. I would prefer that we vote on these separate because I would prefer that be in this language, and it's not, so I wouldn't be supporting it as it is.
Okay, all right, heard. Other comments on that policy? Can I ask for a temperature in the room? I don't want this policy to move forward to our board meeting for a vote if it's going to be voted down. So can I get a temperature read on where you all are so that I know either to send this back to the district for further revision or to go ahead and move it to our board meeting tonight?
I concur with Dr. Gant. I think there should be an appeal process for any evaluation.
Okay. Others?
I also agree with Dr. Gant. There needs to
Okay.
be that process.
Okay. Okay. All right, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's at least 4 members. Is there a 5th member who, I will say I support it as well. So yeah, at this point, I don't think we have enough support for this bill, policy to move to our regular meeting. So what I think we should do is just go ahead and kick it back to the district to save ourselves time. Ms. Palmer, you got it? Okay, thank you. All right, policy KC, Board Community Relations. Now, this is a decision to rescind this policy as it is going to move, if it is rescinded, it will move to our board manual. I think.
I
Let me
didn't
open it
remember
up
that
before
was
I
on
say
the,
stuff.
was it in the board manual, you said? I don't
Well,
think so.
this policy, okay, so this policy wasn't discussed when we went through the B policies and agreed to move a bunch of policies to our board manual. So at our last meeting, not at our last meeting, so Ms. Bonez pulled this policy, it was up for a review, and recommends that we rescind it because it has the same language or similar language to the ones that we moved to the board manual. So her recommendation is to rescind. Now, this is strictly her recommendation. So if the board does not approve this recommendation to rescind this policy, then that's up for conversation. Yeah, Mr. Denson?
And, yeah, we're speaking of KC, right? The Board Community
Yes.
Relations? Yeah. So, I mean, I do not think I support rescinding this, and one of the things was, as we were doing our assessments, it goes over, a few of the things we talk about is the requirement for this board to actually, like, annually approve basically a community relations policy. Yeah, and so I guess, and I also don't see the harm in having this on there also. I mean, I understand that there might be some duplication, but there is some differences also, I saw. So I don't support it, and I think that it's actually kind of one of our requirements as a board to have this policy.
Okay. Other thoughts? Okay. Yes, Dr. Gant? Dr. Gant? Ms. Davis?
I would agree. I think it at least gives like the community, when needed, an opportunity to, to access the board in more formal ways.
Okay. And Mrs. Davis, I did see your hand go up.
Yeah, so again, I believe that definitely this policy needs to stay, because even if it is something that we might put in a manual, I'm still struggling with our need to have to go to 2 different places to actually do the work of policy. So yes, I think it should be there because it's like the guiding star for how we actually behave, and it's the one thing that we are elected to do. So, thank you.
All right, and I will share my thoughts, which I shared with the district when we had our agenda setting, that I too disagreed with rescinding this policy, primarily because a lot of the B policies that we discussed were very much sort of philosophical language, whereas this does actually have a series of steps and stages for doing things, and so there's sort of like a roadmap, if you will, in this policy. So I too disagreed with rescinding it, and I planned on voting no. So I think we can go ahead and just keep it on the board meeting agenda for tonight for a vote, and then just kind of see where it lands. Any thoughts? Okay. All right, moving forward. Yeah.
Can I just make, if you don't if it fails, that one sentence at the bottom, board policy BAB, will come out because that no longer is a policy.
Gotcha, okay.
So when you get it back, that would be a revision to it.
Okay. And I think that that's appropriate. Should we include that language when we mention the vote?
Well, if you rescind it, if you don't rescind it, fails, then when we bring it back,
Mm-hmm.
it will be a revision to remove that language.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Thank you for clarifying, Ms. Palmer. All right, policy GBT, professional publishing. Yes, Dr. Gant?
I'm sorry. I know I'm stating some of the same things I've said before. I do think that I noticed the changes, and I still think that there is work that needs to be done with the employee under A, where it says copyright, that any material prepared by an employee within the scope of his or her employment is called work made for hire and will belong to the district unless ownership is transferred by the district. I would just like to see parallels between what would be expected of, like, our professional colleagues and what would be expected of our leader as well. And right now, those two things are out of sync. And so it's fine if, I think we're taking action on this, but that would be the reason that that I wouldn't support it.
Thank you, Dr. Gant. Other thoughts before we move on? Yes, Dr. Yeager?
I guess I'm confused that most of these, there's been either no conversation or no change after last month's. They've just come back without it. It doesn't seem like, I'm not detecting a lot of shift after we made all these comments last month. They just came back. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering about the process. Did we not engage enough on some document, or it seemed like we had a conversation and we agreed and we pushed them to this month, and now they're just back, mm-hmm. like zombies. They haven't been changed. Groundhog Day, yeah.
I do, yeah.
Where's the process failing that we didn't have more engagement on these changes? I'm just wondering, not specifically this one, but the next one coming up is also one that I think we said we weren't quite ready to rescind, and yet it's back being rescinded. So I'm just wondering about the process.
Okay. Dr. Hooker, would you like to share your thoughts?
I apologize for that. If that has taken place, I will work with Ms. Bonet, but she and I usually meet when it comes to this, or meet with Dr. Scott or with Ms. Palmer in looking at these policies. So I dropped the ball on this. I'll take full ownership for that, and we will go back and look at that. Again, we'll make sure in the future that we are meeting consistently to take your input to make changes to these policies. Okay?
Okay, so it looks like, actually, let's go ahead and talk about IA before we summarize our thoughts on all of these. All right, instructional program philosophy. Policy IA.
Yeah, again, I think, sorry, Dr. Gant.
Yes, Dr. Yeager?
I was just going to say, I think we said that we didn't see the important parts of this policy were not anywhere else, and we were wondering why we were rescinding it whole hog and not just taking out pieces. And I would, again, I don't understand the justification for tossing it all out completely. I don't see other places where we have this language.
Okay. All right, so, did I see your hand up? Yes, go ahead.
I have a question for Mike, if you don't mind, sir. As I'm looking through some of this, I can see where some of this language might be problematic under the divisive concepts rule. And I believe that is why we started looking at this in the beginning. And so I'm wondering, now, let it be clear, I'm not a big fan of the divisive concepts rule. I think we should let teachers teach, but I'm weird that way. But, you know, is that why we're looking at this?
I honestly don't know why this policy's being looked at right now. My best recollection is the divisive concepts policy is not this one, but a separate one.
Right.
Is that right?
It is, and what I would like to suggest is that we pull all of these and do not vote. And let me meet with our cabinet and Ms. Bonet to address your concerns, and we'll bring them back, if that will save us time instead of you, okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dr. Fisher.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That solves a lot of the issues that I think several board members raised. All right, so what we are going to do with all 5 of these policies is go ahead and table them and send them back to the district for further discussion revisions, and then bring them back in November for discussion. Now, these policies have all gone out for public comment already, correct? So, Ms. Palmer, then, if you would share those thoughts with Ms. Bonet as these conversations are happening. Thank you. All right. And now, item C, future policies for review from the board. Does anyone have any policies they'd like to discuss bringing forward? Okay. I see no hands. I see no thoughts. And we will now move on to item 5, business items for discussion for the consent agenda. As usual, I will just call it out, and if you have a strong aversion to adding this to the consent agenda, please raise your hand high and say loudly so we don't miscommunicate. Item A, September 12th, 2024 work session and board meeting minutes. Okay. Item B, personnel. All right. Item C, approval of the 25-26 and 26-27 academic calendar. Yes, Dr. Yeager.
Can I just say thank you to the district for listening to the survey? We really, really appreciate that you've listened and responded. Thank you for that.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Gant.
With this item, I would like to, I think it's great, but I think because of how our meetings are set up right now, it does not give the public enough time. I mean, yes, I know we did get their feedback, and that, I think that's great. But normally we would have like a week in between our regular session and the business session, but we don't have that. And so I would like to see us put this on next month's or even December's agenda. Not because I think there's going to be controversy, but I just think as a matter of governance and time, families need to have a chance to see what that final product was based on those surveys. And I don't want it to feel rushed because we're not in 2025 yet. I know families may be making plans for next year, but I would love for the board to consider some time in between that this is made public, time to digest it, time to give us feedback. And I know they've had that time since the agenda has been live, but we're still talking about a very quick turnaround with public meetings.
Okay. All right, are there other thoughts to that? Or?
I support that idea. I think that's a smart way to go.
Okay. So essentially what we're talking about is removing it from the consent agenda and potentially tabling it for a vote in November. Okay. Okay. So let's go, well, one person has asked to remove it from the consent agenda, so we'll do that, and then the vote will go as it will.
I will, may I say, over here, sorry.
Oh, yes, Dr. Moore.
It has been on our website and announced on social media and in the newsletter for 2 weeks, so I'll just throw that out. We do also provide a feedback email to the public, and we've received no comments through that about the calendar. So I just wanted you to have that information.
Okay,
That's good information, thank you.
okay.
I think if that's the case, are you still in favor of pushing it?
Yes, I just think major decisions like this, I mean, I think those are great. Those are a step in the right direction. But because it's our official meeting to take action, and generally people tend to see the official meetings as a way to give feedback or to look at what's on here and say yes or no or what have you. It doesn't mean that we'll change it, but I still think that that opportunity needs to be provided at a governance meeting. So yes.
So does that mean it's like an information item today, or at the meeting today, we announce that it exists? What do we do today? Just take it off, just table it, so nobody knows about it? It seems like we have to.
Well, technically, they know if it's on the agenda right now, it's public, they would know about it. So I don't know, I guess it's up to the board if it's just an informational item, but I'm just saying as far as taking action on it, since we do have to approve it, I would love us to consider taking action next month, or not tonight.
So, I mean, Dr. Yeager, I think Dr. Gann is well within her rights to ask for it to be pulled from the consent agenda, and she's well within her rights to ask for a vote for it to be tabled. So, at this point.
I'm just trying to understand.
Okay.
I'm not
Yeah.
arguing.
Yeah.
Well, and it may be that just, I guess, the appropriate thing for now is to pull it from the consent. And perhaps if we vote on it, then
Right.
I probably will maybe offer a different motion
Right,
at that time.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay, fantastic.
Just a quick question.
Yes, Ms. Davis?
So it's the 25-26 and 26-27 academic calendar. So this is our big change. We're going to a 2-year calendar. And so if the world, I'm sorry? Did I miss something? Because I do. I miss a lot.
Go ahead.
And so, yeah, so 25-26 is all great. Do we vote again next year? Are we going to be doing 27-28? Or do we, again, do any revisions to 26-27? Can it be changed once we vote? That's my real question.
So okay, from a procedural standpoint, I do not believe we as a board would then re-vote for the 26-27 calendar. But what could happen is the district could have changes to the 26-27 calendar that they will bring forward next year for a vote for approval. But once we vote for 26-27, it doesn't come back up next year for a vote.
Unless there are changes.
Unless,
And that would make-
exactly, unless there are
absolutely.
changes from the district.
That makes sense. Well, yeah, they all come from the district, so I'm good.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we have pulled item C from the consent agenda. Item D, student device purchase. All right, E, Dr. Yeager?
I just have a question. I was trying to look at the contracts, and why are we dealing with Minnesota on this purchase? It seemed kind of the contract between the state of Minnesota, and I didn't quite understand the contract. It seemed odd. What am I
iPads
missing?
from Minnesota, does anyone have any?
Dr. Askew or either Taylor? Is that the best bid we got from? Yes, will you come to the mic?
Why you said Minnesota, I don't know the answer to that. It is contract pricing. It came from the Veronica Jackson's office.
It just seems odd that we're approving a contract between the state of Minnesota and Apple Incorporated. We are neither party.
I'm not familiar with it, but my guess is that it's a cooperative purchasing agreement. I do see some reference to state of Georgia in one of them. It's not unusual to have, a lot of them come from Texas. I don't know that I've ever seen one from Minnesota, but a lot of these do have multiple states where the suppliers agreed to a price for everybody that's a member of that cooperative.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Gant?
Could we pull this from consent?
Okay. So item C and D are pulled from consent. Item E, CMS Phase 2 furniture order. Okay.
Just a question.
Yes, Ms. Davis.
So New Idea is, are they in a 5-year contract with us, or is this because they took the low bid on this second set of furniture, or phase 2?
They were the furniture vendor for phase 1. Again, it's state contract pricing.
Right.
Since we used them on phase 1, we're using them on phase 2.
So it didn't go out for bid again on the phase 2 part?
No, because it was, again, it's the cooperative purchasing agreement. So it's been previously bid, under that agreement.
Okay. And I'm asking because your purchasing department has done such a great job of talking about doing something with the disparity study and bringing in more contractors. And so, yeah, I'll be asking that question every time. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gilbert. So are we pulling E or keeping it on? Pull? Okay, keep it. Item F, field trips. All right. G, Donna Davis School Improvement Consultant Contract. And for clarity, this is a consultant contract to work with the superintendent on professional development. Correct?
That's correct. We'll be working with Dr. Scott's department, correct? Yes.
I just wanted to throw that out there because that was a question that I had. I thought that you all may also have that question. All right, consent or question?
Could we pull it?
Okay. So G is also being pulled. All right, H, GMP amendment for Cedar Shoals Phase 3 and ROTC building. Okay, keep it. H, wait. I 2024-25 selection criteria update for Early Learning Center. Okay, good. Dr. Yeager.
I didn't see how this has changed from prior. Is there a document that says what we're doing differently, or is it?
Same.
I'm pretty sure it's the same, and every year we vote on this. Is
Okay,
that right?
so it hasn't changed?
There is an update in which moving more prioritization slots to expectant mothers in the 3rd trimester. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
Nice to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Denson, for that. Do you want to pull it, or was that just clarification? Okay. J, Qualtrics subscription renewal. All right. And K, 2024 Clean School Bus Rebate Program School Board Awareness Certification. All right. And I, roofing contract. Okay. So from my recollection, we are pulling items C, the academic calendar, item D, student device purchase, and item G, Donna Davis School Improvement Consultant Contract. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now we will go to item 6. I do not believe we have an executive session, so we will move to item 7 for adjournment. I need a vote.
I move we
Wait.
adjourn.
Ooh. All right, motion made by Dr. Yeager, seconded by Ms. Hensley. All in favor for adjourning, raise your hand, say aye. All right, we are adjourned. We'll see. All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and start our October 17th board meeting. Let's go ahead and call to order, and if you don't mind, Dr. Hooker, doing roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Heidi Hensley.
Here.
Ms. Claudia Butts. Ms. Linda Davis.
Here.
Dr. Patricia Yeager.
Here.
Mr. Tim Denson.
Here.
Dr. Mombi Anderson.
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant.
Here.
Ms. Nicole Hull.
Here.
Mr. Mark Evans.
Here.
All right, looks like we have a quorum, and we can go ahead and move on with our agenda items. Next on the list is item 3, silent meditation and pledge of allegiance. We'll start with the silent meditation. Just a few moments of silent meditation. Thank you. All right, thank you. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is up and to your left. I pledge allegiance
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and now our favorite agenda item of every board meeting. Dr. Moore, start with our recognitions.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anderson, Dr. Hooker. Good evening, board members. We have a few staff recognitions tonight, and we'll get started by recognizing some of our students who are involved in our agricultural science and FFA programs. As I call your name, students, if you'll just come to the stage. We are pleased to be joined tonight by Cedar Shoals High School seniors Amelia Hembree and Delia McElhanan, who have been named National FFA Agri-Science Fair finalists in the Animal Systems category. Yep, please. Stop on that. If you'll stand right there. There we go. Amelia and Delia conducted a nutrition study on insect-based protein obtained from polystyrene-fed super mealworms, which replaced a small amount of traditional feed in the diets of young chickens and tracked the chickens' weight gain over a 3-week period. Amelia and Delia will be recognized on stage next week at the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis and find out whether their project won, so we may see them back next month. Amelia and Delia, we'd like to ask your ag science teacher at Cedar, Miss Julie Throne, to come up and join you for one final picture. And let's give them another round of applause. Now I'll ask you all to stay there because we have some of your colleagues here as well to recognize. Several other students here tonight earned a Bronze Award designation at that National Agri-Science Fair. If you'll come forward when I call your name. From Cedar Shoals, we have juniors Lawrence Hodges and Alessandra Perez Garcia, who received a bronze in the Environmental Systems and Natural Resource Systems category. Also from Cedar Shoals, we have juniors Dariana Smith and Chizelso Imagwan, who received a bronze in the social science category. And my apologies, I'm quite sure I mispronounced your name. Let's give them a round of applause. And we'll ask you to stay there as we have some students from Coyle Middle School who are going to join you. We have 8th graders Emily Adams and Quinn Hilton, who received a bronze in the Power, Structural, and Technical Systems category. If these students are here, I'll ask them and their teacher, Mr. Jacob Blades, to please come up. And I'd like to ask the board members at this time, please come up and stand behind our students who I'm sure are one day going to be leading scientists in their field, and we will look back on this and say we knew them when. All right, look over here.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Let's give these students another round of applause. Thank you and congratulations. Now, moving on to some staff recognitions, we'd like to first recognize our Employee of the Month for October. Our Employee of the Month this month is Liza Burnsed, Transition Specialist with our Department of Special Education. Ms. Burnsed, I would like to ask you to come on up. It's going to be an uncomfortable few minutes. I know. Ms. Burnsed has worked in special education with CCSD for 10 years and has been a transition specialist for the past 3. In her role, Ms. Burnsed works tirelessly every day in assisting students served through our special education program and helping them and their families prepare for life after high school. This includes, among other things, making and maintaining contacts with numerous local businesses and companies to set up job training sites and support employment opportunities for students with special needs. To that end, one of the major events we do here at the district office every year is a transition fair, which you started, correct? Yes. Where we invite students and families and have local and area resource providers on hand to share information in the areas of community access programs, job support, financial support, trusts planning, guardianship, social opportunities, and more. Planning for the next transition fair is already in the works. It's scheduled to be held April 25th from 9 to 12 right here in this room, so we'd love for all families who could benefit from this to come out. Ms. Burnsed made a quick impression on one of the newer members of her department who nominated her for this award, Ms. Erica Douglas Green, who said she was quickly fascinated and amazed at the work Ms. Burnsed does every day. She writes that Liza continues to use her talents as a teacher by supporting and teaching teachers how to incorporate vocational skills training. Liza has a strong passion for her work. Our students and families are very lucky to have her. And we agree that we are very lucky to have you. Our Executive Director of Special Ed, Ms. Jacinta Henry, had this to say about Ms. Burnsed. Liza consistently demonstrated true commitment to her role, going above and beyond to ensure that our teachers have the knowledge needed to create transition plans and that our students are empowered to pursue vocational skills in partnership with our local community and business providers. I am personally grateful for Liza's contribution to our special education department and school district. Her hard work and positive impact are an inspiration to us all. Please join me in congratulating Liza Burnsed. Let's start here. Liza, that's a special gift basket for you. We want to thank the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce for their continued partnership in our Employee of the Month program and for supplying this Employee of the Month gift bag each month with numerous gifts from local businesses. Now, there may be some things in there that wind up in little pockets, so be careful when you take that apart. Thank you to Liza and her family for coming here and supporting her in all she does for our district. Thank you, Liza. And as a reminder, we again want to encourage everyone in our community to nominate any full-time CCSD employee with at least 1 year of service for this award. You can follow the link on the screen there. There have been so many fantastic nominations that have continued to pour in. It always makes our decision a difficult one. So thank you to everyone throughout CCSD's community for the tremendous support they show our employees through the district. And again, congratulations, Liza. Next, we have another exciting staff recognition. I'm going to ask Mr. Dave Darden to make his way up. For those who don't know Mr. Darden, he has been an automotive technology teacher at Cedar Shoals for the past 15 years. And last week, that's him on the screen, we surprised him in an assembly at the school with a pep rally, cheerleaders, a band, lots of excitement, with news that he had been named a winner in the 2024 Harbor Freight Tools for Schools Prize for Teaching Excellence, which brought in $50,000 for the school's Auto Tech program. This prize, now in its eighth year, was created to recognize excellent high school skilled trades teachers. Since 2017, more than $8.9 million has been awarded to over 150 teachers and their schools' programs. The mission of Harbor Freight Tools for Schools is to increase understanding, support, and investment in skilled trades education in the U.S. public high schools. Mr. Darden, who was a previous finalist for this award, you may remember, was one of 25 public high school skilled trade teachers across the entire country and the only one in Georgia to win this year out of more than 900 applications submitted. A total of $1.5 million in cash prizes were awarded to teachers across a variety of skilled trades, including construction, carpentry, welding, automotive, agricultural, mechanics, advanced manufacturing, and industrial technology. The extensive application process included 3 rounds of judging, each by an independent panel of experts from education, industry, nonprofits, and philanthropy. In fact, Mr. Darden shared with me he thought he was doing a PhD dissertation. In his application for this award, Mr. Darden wrote, "Fostering a learning environment where everybody has the opportunity to learn and grow, regardless of their background or experience level, is crucial. By sharing my passion, knowledge, and skills for the trade, I aim to inspire others to pursue careers in the automotive industry." Please join me again in congratulating Dave Darden, and I'd like to ask him just to step to the program for a moment for a few quick words about the exciting work our students are doing and how this award will benefit and help the automotive program at Cedar Shoals. Mr. Darden?
Thank you. Okay, so she asked me to speak. So I didn't win this scholarship by myself. There's no I in team. However, tonight I feel like I'm with family. Before I go any further, though, I wanted to mention a few special friends that helped me to be able to stand here tonight. Paul DeLargy, who's represented by his wife Carolyn tonight. Milton Mills, who's represented by his wife Helen tonight. And a good friend of mine, Dan Roth, who helped me with this awesome video that was part of the application process for this award from Harbor Freight. This year marks the 8th year I've applied for the Harbor Freight Tools for Schools Scholarship. And the thing that kept me applying every year was seeing the passion that the Harbor Freight CEO, Eric Schmidt, has for CTA programs like ours here at Cedar Shoals High School. Of all the tool and equipment suppliers that we purchase tools and equipment from, Harbor Freight is one of the only suppliers that offers a scholarship for teachers. I've taught at Cedar Shoals for about almost 15 years now, and I've enjoyed every day here, and I look forward to many more years to come. My last 10 years of a 35-year career with 3 different Caterpillar dealers taught me that you cannot be successful in a sales, I was in a sales career. You cannot be successful in a sales career or a teaching career until you've built relationships. Building relationships is critical. I like the philosophy of Ben Franklin, who said, "Tell me and I will forget, teach me and I will remember, involve me and I will learn." I try very hard every day to involve my students so that they all will remember and learn what I'm teaching. From 2018 to 2022, I received my educational specialist degree from UGA, which greatly helped me to become a better teacher. I think of this degree as putting more tools in my toolbox. My passion as a teacher is to pass on the vast knowledge and experience that I have in the automotive industry to my students so that they can become more successful in life and in their careers. Thank you.
We're going to take just a quick minute to have Mr. Darden and his supporters here for a quick picture. So come on up, everybody who is here for him. Come on up. It's okay. Are these some of your students? Yes. Yes, wonderful. Former students. Ready? Look over here. Wonderful. Thank you. And again, congratulations, Mr. Darden. Next, we have a special surprise presentation. So I'd like to ask Dr. Hooker and Dr. Scott to make their way to the stage while I invite Josh Podman and Ayana Egan's from UGA's Office of Service Learning to come up.
Good evening, y'all. My name is Josh Podvin. I'm the Assistant Director for Community Partnerships in the Office of Service Learning at UGA. I'll let you introduce.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Ayana Egan's, and I'm the Current Program Coordinator for Experience UGA.
So we just wanted to take a moment tonight. We were privileged to be partners in an award that recognized our 12-year partnership with the Clark County School District for the Experience UGA program. We were the recipients of the International Town Gown Association's Presidential Excellence Award. It comes with a very fragile glass award to be displayed wherever you see fit, and a $500 check. But it really is an opportunity to recognize not just our office and the district and the work that's been done, but the many partners that make this possible, the teachers, the trip representatives, our partners at the university. To date, we've hosted over 75,000 students from the Clark County School District on campus for field trips from pre-K to 12th grade. And I just want to give Ayana a ton of credit, but also a moment to talk about this year's accomplishments in just a few short months that we've been in session.
So like Josh said, we have a lot of different partnerships that connect on the university side, but I will have to emphasize, yes, the teachers have been so great in making these trips happen because they coordinate 110 with me throughout all those individual grade levels. So we have hosted 30 trips so far within this academic year, starting with pre-K at the State Botanical Gardens. They get the chance to use their senses out in the garden, see some fun birds, and also be able to dig up some worms, which, yes, not my favorite part, but for them it is glorious, and we love seeing it. And then we've offered at the School of Pharmacy, Warnell Forestry and Resources, and also Trial Gardens for first grade students, so they can learn about the importance of safety out in nature and also around medication. Then the last one that was most recent was 7th grade, and we hosted at Botanical Gardens again, and also U Garden, and they learned about urban farming, and they got to be able to learn ecosystems out there as well through a fun hike and also numerous of activities. So again, we just thank you for this partnership. Seeing the students light up each time is just so fulfilling to me, and also our staff and ambassadors, including Josh, who's here with me as well. And we just can't wait to continue just another set of years with you guys through this partnership and this wonderful community that we've built. So thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. You don't want me to touch it. Thank you very much for joining us tonight and for the great work that you do with our students. And finally tonight, I wanted to share some great news about our Department of Public Relations and Communications. Just this week, we received 7 awards from the Virginia School Public Relations Association in the 2024 Publication and Peach Awards. These included gold awards for our weekly Better Together newsletter, the district's informational brochure designed for local realtors, and the wonderful MLK video you all remember from earlier this year that was produced in collaboration with our partners at CB House. We also won silver awards for writing in Dr. Hooker's State of the District address, production of an annual student art wall calendar, which is support from Mr. Dan Smith, our curriculum coordinator of fine arts, health, and PE, and our internal communications and style guide for CCSD employees, along with a bronze award for photography. These awards were in addition to the 12 awards we received this summer from the National School Public Relations Association in its annual Publications and Digital Media Excellence Awards. We are most grateful to be recognized for our work in writing, photography, videography, and special publications that communicate and highlight our wonderful district's initiatives, as well as the achievements and triumphs of our students and staff. We appreciate you allowing us to do that on such a regular basis. Dr. Hooker, that concludes our recognitions for tonight, and I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Anderson, for any board recognitions you might have. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Moore, for recognizing all of our students, amazing students and staff at CCSD, and congratulations to you and your staff on the numerous awards that you all have received, and that is absolutely well-deserved. At this time, we're going to move on with the next phase of our agenda. So visitors, if you are here for awards or recognition, you are welcome to leave. We will not be offended. All right, so now we will move forward with item 5, and this is public comment. We have 2 speakers here today, and if you don't mind, I'll just read out our policy BCBI before we proceed with our speakers today. Each individual speaker will have up to 3 minutes to speak, and at this point, remarks must be concluded. No speaker will indulge in personal attacks, and all comments are to be addressed directly to the Board of Education. To protect the privacy of students, speakers shall refrain from identifying specific students by name. No individual or group shall be retaliated against in any manner for speaking during public participation. Personal concerns may be addressed in writing to the superintendent and the president of the Board of Education. Written copies of comments may be provided to the board. At a board meeting, board members will not respond to questions or comments from the public. The district may respond to public input as needed or appropriately within 10 working days. The use of obscene, profane, vulgar, physically threatening, or abusive remarks will not be allowed. And lastly, loud and boisterous conduct or comments by speakers or members of the audience are not allowed. Okay, so our first speaker tonight is, Reverend Sandoval.
Dr. Hooker and Dr. Anderson and board members, good afternoon. Stand before you tonight to address an issue concerning the renaming of Cedar Shoals baseball field after Coach James Lewis Holston, who also worked in Athens-Clarke County School District, teacher and coach. He served as coach at Athens Industrial, Bunny Harris High, Clark Central, and retired at Cedar Shoals High School. And I appeal to you all tonight to make a decision to name the baseball field after Coach James Lewis Holston. He has been a pillar in this community up until his passing. So I will ask that the board member take that in consideration. I do know that his wife has a school named after her, but that just to show you that how much they really input into this community. And with that, I'll yield, and I hope that you all will make a decision to rename Cedar Shoals High School baseball field after James Lewis Holston. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Anthony Pittman.
Good evening. I'm Anthony Pittman, born and raised in Clark County, a student of Athens Clark County School District. Dr. Booker, school staff, school board staff, just want to say it's good to be here, good to see y'all once again. Coming on behalf of, as Reverend Sandoval has stated, in renaming the baseball field at Cedar Shoals High School after James Holston. He is a pillar in this community. He was one of those teachers that really cared about all students. I just can't speak of me, but all students. When you met him in the hall, and if you wasn't doing what you were supposed to do, he would look at you. And back then, those teachers knew your parents, and they would tell you, I know your daddy, I know your mama, and that was enough to straighten you out. So it was a well-knit school teachers there, Dr. Worthy and so many others, Reverend Hawk, Dr. Robertson, the list goes on and on, those great teachers that were there. But it would be excellent, and I think the school would not regret it, not you, no one in this community would regret naming that baseball field after Coach James Holston. And I just can't emphasize enough, if you just reconsider, well, not reconsider, but consider looking into this matter. And we thank you for all of the hard work that y'all do on behalf of our Clark County schools. We know y'all have some tough decisions, and we definitely keep y'all in our prayers, and we thank you for the work that you all do. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comments, and we will move forward now to item 6, the adoption of the agenda as presented to us.
So moved.
Second?
All right, motion made by Mr. Denson, seconded by Ms. Davis. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Okay, that motion passes, and we will move forward to item 7. Ms. Palmer, please note, Ms. Hall voted aye. All right, item 7, Dr. Hooker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been an incredible busy month for our district. First, congratulations to Ms. Liz Burnseed, our October Employee of the Month. We also surprised our 3 Teacher of the Year finalists this month. Those finalists are Chris Batson, who's at Clark Middle. We have Barbara Gay-Rutig from Hillsman Middle School, Tamisha Creighton from Bernie Harris Lyons Middle School. We look forward to announcing our District Teacher of the Year along with our District Support Paraprofessional of the Year at our annual banquet next week, October the 24th. Congratulations to Mr. David Darden, and thank you for the Harbor Freight Twos for School for recognizing Mr. Darden's commitment to our automotive program and students at Cedar Shoals High School. Mr. Darden was surprised with the pep rally and celebration of this incredible recognition. We had lots of visitors in our school this week. Members of the business community, along with parents and nonprofit partners, join us for the 2024 Seeing is Believing bus tour on Tuesday. Participants had an opportunity to visit Clark Central, Clark Middle, Hillsman Middle, Barnett Shoals, J.J. Harris, and the Career Academy for an opportunity to see themselves and all the great things happening in our classrooms. Lead Athens also brought 35 upcoming leaders in our community to the district today for conversation with our leaders and tours of the early learning program, Clark Middle, and again, the Career Academy. Our student art show opened this week at the Linden House. Students' work will be up through January, so I encourage everyone to stop by and take a look at the talent we have in our schools. The Parent Advisory Board, under the leadership of Parent Leila Brooks, will meet October the 29th at 6 p.m. at Clark Middle School. We're also thrilled that Ms. Brooks will represent Clark County School District on the Governor's Parent Advisory Board. Just a reminder that the ACCA Board will be present to the Clark County Board will present to the Clark County Board at 4 p.m. on November 14th before our regular scheduled work session, which begins at 5 p.m. And that concludes my comments for tonight.
All right, thank you so much for your comments and also reminders of all of the amazing upcoming events we have. All right, now we will move on to item 8, presentations and discussions, and we have one presentation about the School-Based Health Center.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Hooker, members of the board. Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity to talk to you this evening about the exciting work we've been doing around school-based health centers. I'm Amy Roark, the Director of Nursing for CCSD, and this is Meredith Dykes. I wanted to start out by saying thank you so much for approving the position of School-Based Health Center Coordinator. Meredith is our new School-Based Health Center Coordinator, and we are very excited to bring her into this role. She's been a CCSD school nurse for 8.5 years, knows our school community so well, and has a degree in public health and a public health background, which we feel like is a real asset to have in this position. Okay, there we go. So we just wanted to give an update of our health centers and the work we've been doing. I believe everybody is aware that we have 2 health centers currently in Clark County that are open, and we are opening 2 more this month due to 2 grants that we received from the Department of Education last year. Those health centers will be opening at Coyle Middle School and Classic City High School, and those locations were determined by the Department of Education based on a list of schools that qualified for grant funding. We were really lucky here in Clark to receive enough grant funding to open 2 new school-based health centers. We do have strategic goals around our school-based health centers, and we're working to develop a 5-year plan, but it does include having a school-based health center at all 4 of our middle schools. We feel like that is good geographic distribution across the county and increasing access for our students. We would like to have some sort of centralized location that offers specialty services as a hub, counseling services, and vision services. And ultimately, we'd like to see transportation available to our school-based health centers from all of our schools in Clark County. So even if a student attends a school that doesn't have a school-based health center on campus, they could still easily access those services during their school day through our transportation department. So the Hillsman Health Center was the first one. It opened in 2018. You may remember it was the first health center in Northeast Georgia. Really kind of put Clark County School District on the map for school-based health. It has been staffed the entire time and still is by the Athens Neighborhood Health Center, and we very much appreciate our partnership with them. They are a federally qualified health center, and at the time in 2018, they were the only federally qualified health center serving Clark County. They provide comprehensive medical services and dental services. They are staffed by a PA. The PA is named Sarah Trevette, and she's got a wealth of experience in school-based health. She came out of Albany, Georgia, where she worked for 15 years in a very comprehensive school-based health center system down in Albany. They have a dentist, Dr. Amir, who works there 2 days a week. We would like to increase those hours to 5 days a week, but she is currently splitting her time between the Hillsman Health Center and the Athens Neighborhood Health Center's dental operatory at their McKinley Drive location. We met recently with the Hillsman Health Center team, and they shared their impact data from just this last month in September, where they did 74 well child checks, they did sports physicals, they had 219 individual medical visits, which are like urgent care type visits. They gave 106 flu shots, and they saw 26 individual dental patients. And so some of those patients would be coming for more than one visit if there was follow-up. But again, that's only with the dentist operating 2 days a week out of that facility. So we're really proud of the Hillsman Health Center. Here's some pictures of it. It's beautiful. It's a warm, welcoming place. And the most common thing we hear people say when they walk in there is, oh, this is a real doctor's office. And yes, it is. It's a real doctor's office serving students and staff at Hillsman and Gaines and any other CCSD students and staff across the district. All of our health centers are open to any CCSD student, staff, and we say they're family members, and we try to keep it immediate family, people who live in the home, mom, dads, little siblings who may not yet be a Clark County student are welcome to receive services at our health centers. This is a picture of a typical exam room at the Hillsman Health Center, and then the purple room is our dental operatory there. The Clark Middle Health Center is totally different, and it's awesome as well. It opened in 2022, and it's through a partnership with the Augusta University Free Medical Partnership that is merging into the University of Georgia's Medical College. So it's a time of transition for our partner, but it is opening up a whole host of new opportunities, and we are really excited. It is being watched across the state, I will tell you, for its success because it's the first school-based health center in the state of Georgia that's in partnership with a university medical system. Because of that partnership, it's free, which is amazing. They offer free comprehensive medical services through the medical partnership, free legal services through the UGA Law School, and free behavioral health and counseling services through the College of Education. It's staffed by medical doctors, faculty physicians, and medical students. So the Clark Middle Health Center is currently in a modular unit between Holston and Clark Middle Schools, but it will be moving into a brand new beautiful facility, which is in phase 3 of the Clark Middle School build-out. Clark Middle provided us some data that 75% of their visits are currently serving students, and 21% are serving staff, and 4% are families. And I think that's representative of what we're seeing across the district. Mostly students and staff are using our school-based health centers. These are some pictures of the existing Clark Middle Health Center. There's our ribbon cutting that we did in 2022. There's Dr. Meixner treating one of the patients. They use undergraduate students, pre-med students at the reception desk. It's a wonderful place as well. And for any of our health centers, I would encourage, if you would like a tour, to let us know. We would love to show you our health centers, walk you through them, and introduce you to the lovely people that work at them. This is a picture of Troy Bassett showing us the new Clark Middle Health Center, which is still under construction and not yet completed, but going to be a beautiful facility once it opens in January of 2025. This is the blueprint for the Clark Middle Health Center. I believe you all have seen this before, but it's going to be really a state-of-the-art facility, and I do think that we will have people from all over the state wanting to come to Clark County to view this health center. So I am now going to turn it over to Meredith Dykes and let her tell you about the work that we have been doing with our 2 new school-based health centers, which are opening very soon.
Good evening. I'm so excited to share with y'all the Classic City Health Center that is opening really Monday for mental health and counseling. Our Classic City Health Center is in partnership with MedLink, so MedLink will be the provider for this clinic as well as the Coyle Middle School Clinic. And so we're excited about that partnership with MedLink. They are staffed with a nurse practitioner and or a PA. They'll be offering comprehensive medical services on October 28th, actually. And then we're having the grand opening on the 29th. And then we're also working on dental and vision services coming to MedLink and to both of these clinics. And so the facilities team has done a great job putting together the renovations and this new clinic. We're very excited about it. They were decorating it today, and it's looking so good. These are some pictures of the inside of it, just the hallway, and then the lab, and then you've got one of the clinic rooms, and then this is the entrance. And so the entrance is on the side entrance of Classic City High School, and there are parking spots for patients to park in, and as well as for employees. And so they have their own door entrance, and then they can come out as well. And if you have not been on a tour, please call one of us, because you do want to see this. It's really great, and we're so excited. And then we have our wonderful Coyle Health Center, and it's, if you enter into Coyle Middle School, it's kind of right there in the beginning of the property. It is a separate building. It is also the provider's MedLink, and they will also be offering comprehensive medical, behavioral mental health counseling, dental and vision too, and we'll be using MedLink with dental and vision and kind of alternating the schools for those services until we need them for 5 days a week. And so this is going to be a great service to all of Coyle Middle and their families and staff and students. And this is what it looked like when they brought the building onto the property. And so we decided to go with a little bigger model. And so it's 3 small cottages put together to make one big, beautiful Coyle Health Center. And it's a fantastic cottage. They're almost through with it. It will be opening to start to see students and staff on the 28th as well. And so if you have an opportunity to tour this one, you'll want to do that as well. And so it's not a trailer, it's a cottage, okay, a health cottage. Anyway, and this is the back side of it, and the facilities team has done wonders with this, and it's actually got concrete, and it's going to have, various, like making it look like an actual house and making our cottage upgrade. And so we're very excited about those things. And then what's next? You're not going to want to miss this. The Classic City Health Center ribbon cutting, everybody's invited, is going to be on Tuesday, October the 29th at Classic City High School area for where the clinic is. And we want you all to be there. And then the Coyle Middle School Health Center with MedLink, it's going to be having their ribbon cutting ceremony on November the 12th at 1 o'clock. And so if you have the opportunity, put this on your calendars, and then you can go eat lunch after this one at Coyle and grab breakfast after the ribbon cutting at Classic City. And we're very excited about having 2 new school-based health centers for CCSD, and we're looking forward to I'm looking forward to coordinating all 4 of them to improve services and adding services where we need it. Okay, Amy.
Thank you so much. Now that we will have 4 school-based health centers and 3 different medical providers and various services offered at each school, the role of the school-based health center coordinator is so important. And I thank you very much for allowing us to do this work. If you have any questions, comments about school-based health centers, please don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us. Thank you so much.
Also, be sure if you want to enroll, you can, and come see us so I can give you consent forms for you, your family, or any of your students.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a wonderful presentation. Nurse Roar, can I ask a quick question? I mean, I don't know if you all had any comments or questions. I remember last year, I think it was, you did a similar presentation and you talked about the importance of bringing vision screening and vision services to the district, because if students can't see, they can't learn. So I'm really excited to hear that that's going to be incorporated into the 2 new centers. My question for you, when the students and families get screenings, how do they then get services for glasses and things that they may need based on their screenings?
Absolutely. That's a great question, and there's such a great need in Clark County School District for this service. We had over 500 students that were referred for vision services based on a failed screening last year, and the majority of them had difficulty, barriers to accessing healthcare that would allow them glasses. So actually Meredith has been very instrumental in partnering with Georgia Prevent the Blindness. That's one thing we've actually been doing this year and last year as well, is bringing Georgia Prevent the Blindness into our schools. They come with an optometrist. They do a comprehensive vision exam, and they provide each student with 2 free pairs of glasses, one for school and one for home. And that has had such an impact on students across the district, really, truly. We're doing at least 2 or 3 a week in schools. Our hope is that until our medical partners can provide their own optometrists, that we would be able to continue this partnership with Georgia Prevent the Blindness, allowing them to set up clinics within our health centers. So we've designed our health centers to have kind of flexible spaces where we could have mobile dentistry or mobile vision services come in until our partners are at a place where they feel like they can provide those services. With all of these health centers, we have to open them, we have to see how well they're utilized, we have to see what the student-specific needs are for that exact location, and then we build from there to offer more comprehensive services.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Are we ready to move on to our next item?
My quick question, and I think you may have said it already, but who's the partner for both of the last 2? Is it going to be the UGA and
The 2 new health centers that we're opening are both with MedLink. And MedLink is a federally qualified health center, which is the most common partnership utilized in school-based health centers across the country. It is the second federally qualified health center now in Clark County. They were not in Clark County when the Hillsman Health Center opened, but they operate similar to the Athens Neighborhood Health Center, which means they bill for services. They accept Medicaid. They have a sliding scale. And at all of our health centers, we have a commitment that no student will be turned away because of an inability to pay.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you again for that wonderful presentation, and we are really excited about these 2 new health centers. Now we'll move over to item 9, facilities update.
Good evening. Just a few updates on facilities today. There we go. All righty. So some current projects that we're working on. First, at Clark Central High School over the fall break, we were able to install LED lighting in the Crawford Gym, and it's really great. The lighting is like vivid. So if you get a chance to stop by, please check it out. And I've got some photos for you here. Also, field lighting installations. You guys approved the field lighting for both high schools. And so we're working with Georgia Power now. They're doing some pre-walks. As a matter of fact, they were at Clark Central today, and I think they're going to be at Cedar tomorrow, working on some of the wiring that's got to take place and some of the upgrades with the electrical panels and things of that nature. Tentatively, mid-November is when the installations of the actual fixtures and poles will start, and they're promising us they're going to be done by end of January. So we're real excited about that. New intercom installations. We are putting in some new intercoms at the Learning Center, also at Cleveland Road and Stroud, and that's just a part of our regular ongoing maintenance of our buildings. Their intercoms were not fully functional, which not only impacted communication within the buildings, but also their use of our emergency alert system. So those have been ordered, and we're scheduling the installs as we speak, so we're excited about those. And then the first phase of the HVAC renovations has finally taken place. So super excited about that. Berks and Clark Central over the fall break got their new HVAC. Well, I say Clark Central. The prep for Clark Central is being done, but Berks is completely done. They've got the units. They're on top of the building. Just a few minor bugs we're working out, but they've got great working AC now. It's blowing like a jet. So we're excited about that. Classic City, they got theirs as well over the fall break. Gaines will be getting theirs over the Christmas break, and then Holston will be over Thanksgiving. And I just got a few photos for you. So there's the cranes in the air over at Classic City, and you can see the units going on the buildings.
It's working great, too. Thank you.
Don't thank me, thank them. But Clark Central, same thing. You can see the lights there, the new LEDs, and of course, if you get to attend a game or stop by there, you'll definitely notice the difference in the lighting in the gym. So we're excited about that. And then just kind of some updates on work orders and stuff like that. As far as HVAC repairs and outages, for the month of September, there were 105 that were created and closed. For the month of October, so far, we're down. There's only 78 that have been created and closed. And then going to total October work orders, just to kind of give you an idea of the volume of work. So there are 292 work orders that we're currently working on, 352 that we've closed this month already. Our average time to completion is 57.39 hours. Our goal is 48 hours. And of course, you know, as we bring on our 3 new people in our building and grounds, that'll assist us with that. And we've got a new HVAC tech as well that we hired that you guys approved as well. And we're glad to have him on board. He'll start on the 21st. He's got some advanced certs in HVAC, so we're excited about him. So lots of stuff going on with facilities. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Askew. Do any of the members have questions? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Now we will move to item 10, our SPLOST monthly report.
Good evening, board members. We've got I'll give you a quick update, but we've got some photos and slides to go through. Ms. Palmer, if we could just kind of peruse those. So again, I've got the Classic City Health Center update. MedLink has moved in. It's operational. And again, these are just some final finished photos of the interior of the building as it's being fitted out. Is it? Well, we'll just talk about it then. All right, go back to the report and I'll go off the report. I told him to be brief. He doesn't know how to be brief. That's his tour guide coming out. Too many slides. Well, I'll give you an update. Clark Middle, we're making good progress. Phase 2, the contractor is paving. Oh, here we go. Photos back. Okay. So Classic City, just scroll through these. Again, I think ribbon cutting is the 29th. Coyle, we're doing final inspections. We've poured the ramps and sidewalks to the building. These are just some aerial photos as well. Hope to have water meter installed on Monday, plumber wrapping up, and Georgia Power's Connected Power and MedLink's data provider is installing their internet, and it's about complete as well. And again, as you can see, that's up front. These are some images of Cedar Shoals. This is the exterior pavilion outside the cafeteria. We hope to get that turned over by the end of the year. And again, you can see the loading dock area with the additions on either side of the school. Hope to get those enclosed and turned over to the students by Christmas time as well. This is the new paving area by the baseball field, and you can see the prep work being done for the tennis courts. These photos are a week or two old. Asphalt's down, fences going up, and hopefully within about 2 weeks we'll have the tennis courts finished there at Cedar. And here's the ag building with the new roof and mechanical units. Next series of slides is Clark Middle. You can see the phase 2 parking areas taking shape. Curb and gutters complete. They're putting gravel down and hope to be paving asphalt next week. The goal is to turn over the phase 2 portion by January 1st, and we'll redirect traffic coming into the site so we're not bottlenecked there at Alps. You can see the soccer field on the backside of the school, as well as the lower level off of Dudley and the ag area, barn and greenhouse space. And we're shooting to have the furniture delivered during January and move the principal and admin staff after that January 15th by February. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert.
Okay,
Are there any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do love driving down Baxter Street, seeing the front of Clark Middle School. Thank you.
All right, we are ready to move on to item 11, our consent agenda as determined at our work session. Is anyone ready to make a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Dr. Yeager, seconded by Ms. Hensley. All in favor? No comments, right? Okay. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. That motion passes. I think it was unanimous, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, that motion passes unanimously. All right, and now the items that are up for individual approval and discussion. We've got item A, financial report, update and approval.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. Good evening. Lisa, if you could pull up the financials June 30th, please, first. Yep, there you go. Sorry, they're on there backwards. So we have two sets of financials tonight. One is our year-end financials that were submitted to the state of Georgia in September as required. Those are due to the state by September 30th. So we actually ended the year better than we thought, which is very good. So our total revenue, and I'll explain that in a minute, our total revenue is $225,138,518. Total expenditures, $219,734,138. So that leaves that our revenues exceeded our expenditures by $5.4 million. So we ended up the year with a general fund balance of $59.7 million. We had anticipated ending up conservatively $55.5 million. So we're about $4.2 million ahead of where we thought we would be. The biggest difference is we started looking at our ESSER expenditures. We realized that we could reclassify some general fund over because we want to fully expend our ESSER money. And we had by September 30th. So we had money that we were able to shift from the general fund over to ESSER, and that's per guidance from the Georgia Department of Education. They want districts not to leave any money in ESSER. They don't want to return any back to the federal government. So they've advised districts, if you have any that you're not going to spend, to reclassify general fund. Some of that's, what we used it for was our health insurance increase in FY24. They also said we could use it for energy bills. We did not go that route. We went the health insurance route, so that's where the difference in the fund balance comes in. So, I'll be happy to answer it. We are currently, and I appreciate y'all allowing us to use Malden & Jenkins for the audit. We started the audit last week, which we started in January last year with the state, so I appreciate that. That relieves a lot of pressure off of us as we get into budget season. The audit should be done by the end of December. We're still working through items with the auditors right now. No items of note yet. I mean, they just started last week, so we're just getting samples pulled for them at this moment. So any questions on June, and then I'll move on to August if there's no questions on June. Okay. All right. August always looks weird, so we'll pull it up because our revenues are always way less than our expenditures, and I'll explain that in a minute. Actual revenues about $3.8 million, total expenditures $26.3. We're about to get to the point where our fund balance will be the lowest during the year. It's at $37.2 million in August. The difference in revenues is our tax digest. In September we received, this is August of course, in September we received $15 million. We've already received $15 million in October. Property taxes are due in Athens-Clarke County the 20th of October, which is coming up soon. It's actually over the weekend. So typically what happens is we'll get a large deposit probably the next week or so, as mortgage companies wait till about the 20th to pay a lot of those if you have it in escrow. So our revenues, when we do this in September, will probably be about a break even. When we get to October, we'll be at one of the largest points in our fund balance. So if you go to the second slide, it shows our fund balance chart. And remember, you see the huge spike in October, November, and then it starts to steadily go down throughout the rest of the year. School districts do not have, of course, we've talked about this, level revenues throughout the year because of our property tax digest. QBE is spread out over 12 months, but property taxes, like I said, most of them come in October, November. So right now, we're in no items of note on the revenue or expenditure side other than those. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, do you all have any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Davis?
So it is September, and we're getting the June report now, right?
Yes.
Is this going to change with our new auditors?
No, it's unfortunately, Ms. Davis, it's every school district ever does June until September. And it really doesn't matter who the auditor is. The reason being, with our modified accrual basis we use for our financial statements, there's items in July and August that get put back into June. We have bills that come in July and August, and those have to be recorded in June. We have receipts. Any receipts we receive from the tax commissioner in July and August get recorded back in last year as well. And that's standard accounting procedures across every school district. So we can't really finalize the financials till September, unfortunately. So.
I'll stop asking that question next year.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect question. I don't think last year, this year my goal was to present financials at each board meeting. I think we skipped July last year. Or actually we skipped September and we didn't present July, which we did this year. So again, yeah, unfortunately with June, every school district normally presents those in October. It
just allows me to not get upset early, so thank you.
Right, the biggest advantage with switching auditors was, one, we're getting the audit done much sooner, the continuity of staff that we have. I mean, they have a full team on this. I think they've had like 9 or 10 people working on it the last 2 weeks because it's a large firm. And we're just going to get it done a lot quicker, which is a lot of pressure off of us when we get into budget season. So.
Okay. Other questions? All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Greiner.
Right, thank you all.
Okay. Item B, Donna Davis School Improvement Consultant Contract. If you remember
I'm
that.
sorry. Can I have a motion to approve, to accept that?
Oh.
So moved.
Oh, before we move on, I forget. I'm so sorry. Who made? Okay. Motion made by Ms. Davis, seconded by Dr. Yeager. All in favor of approving the financial report? Raise your hand, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you for that reminder, Ms. Palmer. All right, item B, the Donna Davis School Improvement Consultant Contract. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the contract as presented.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I'm clear on the outcomes yet, but I think there are probably some measurements that are going to be a part of that.
Yes, there will be measurements as part of that.
Excellent, thank you.
I'll second that.
And she's
All
not
right,
my
that-
relative, by the way. I don't know Donna Davis.
Okay, that motion has been made by Ms. Davis, seconded by Mr. Evans. Now the floor is open for discussion. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Dr. Gant.
Mine was similar to Ms. Davis, but I think it may be something we can chit-chat about. But yeah, it was just related to the outcomes, and it looks like it was like support, professional development support for all of our leaders or our principal supervisors, or was it everyone?
So the work that Donna Davis does is directly linked to the strategic plan and the thriving students, looking at the initiative around academic engagement and student engagement. And so each one of those measures goes directly to the work that she's doing with building leaders, but she's also providing professional learning for teachers. And so she worked with our secondary schools. Her work throughout this school year will be to then engage at the level of going into the schools to do some instructional walks with our leaders, as well as district leadership and district content coaches, to then be able to support our teachers as they are making those adjustments and ensuring that we're building out instruction that does promote academic engagement. And all of this is directly correlated with the work we started last year around the opportunity myth from the TNTP work.
And so it's like so this is like for this academic year, like this particular contract?
Correct.
Okay. And with the principal supervisors, is there like an element of capacity building among them to do like, to provide the support with principals, and then capacity building with the principals to be the, like the instructional leaders, like basically eventually to sort of.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Ultimately, that's always the goal, is to ensure that we are building the capacity of our leaders to be able to carry out that work. When we're thinking about the work that Donna Davis is doing, then Dr. Davis is specifically trained with TNTP as a consultant to actually deliver PL because of the work that she's done with TNTP previously, to ensure that our interpretations of the opportunity myth and the constructs associated with that are correct, and that we are all aligned in that across all of our schools. So it really is building the capacity of not just our principal supervisors, but also our teaching and learning team, because they are the ones that support around the development of instructional practices and that pedagogy for our teachers, and ensuring that what we're putting in our actual curriculum portal supports academic engagement as well.
All right, other questions? Okay, so there is a motion on the floor. I'm going to go ahead and call a vote. All in favor of approving the Donna Davis School Improvement Consultant contract, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Okay. All right, any opposed?
Nicole?
Ms. Holt? Okay. All right. Okay, all right, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, next item is school device purchase. Is there someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept this.
Okay, I'll second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Denson and seconded by Ms. Davis. Now the floor is open for questions or comments, thoughts. Yes, Mr. Denson.
I did look into it some while we had our break, just to, because it was odd that it was from Minnesota. And as I looked over it, that Minnesota is simply what they call it, the lead state that is representing all of the states involved through the NASPO Value Point, which is this nonprofit that kind of consolidates a bunch of different states and school districts together to purchase, as kind of administration explained. And one of my concern was just that making sure that we still had, as our own district and state, the ability to, opt out or have, some kind of autonomy in this contract. And it says that we actually have the same exact rights as the lead state, Minnesota. So I don't have any concerns with it.
Okay. All right, other thoughts, questions?
I just want to keep this clear. This is like the 5-year replacement, refreshment, replenishment? Okay, thank you.
All right. Dr. Gant?
I was just curious about I know it mentions it's for, I thought I read somewhere who it was for. Kindergarten, is it kindergarten and first grade? Well, as far as like the laptops, no, I'm sorry, the iPads, what are they used for in kindergarten and first grade? And is this like the number, let's see, 2,830? Is it like a phase, so there are more? So I guess that's a two-part question. One, what are they used for? And then is this like a refreshing of like a portion of what exists for K and first grade?
They're used for testing and all kinds of apps, lots and lots of apps for learning. And it is a one-for-one replacement for what they already have.
It's a one-for-one replacement for What was the last part of your
The
sentence?
devices they already have. They're old and they no longer get updates from Apple.
Oh, okay. So it's to replace all of the iPads is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And then with the, with the test, like with these, the kindergarten and first grade students, do we have like all of these per, like one computer per child? Is that what the ultimate inventory is? Or no?
I don't think it is one per child. I was trying to remember off the top of my head. There is a set number per teacher. So-
Okay, okay. And then we use them for, like, their testing, and then you said for apps. So these K through kindergarten and first grade students, they don't take them home?
No.
Okay. But it's not a one-to-one thing either?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there other questions? Okay, there's a motion on the floor, so I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. All in favor of approving the student device purchase, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so we've got 8 favor, yes, and 1 opposed. That motion passes. Okay, item D, approval of the 25-26 academic calendar and 26-27 academic calendar. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve both calendars.
Okay.
Second.
All right, motion made by Ms. Hensley, seconded by Dr. Yeager. The floor is open for questions, comments. Yes, Dr. Gant?
Would now be the appropriate time to make a substitute motion, or after we discuss the motion that's on the floor?
You can do it now if you'd like.
Okay. I wanted to make a substitute motion that we table these two, well, item D, which are our calendars for 25-26 and 26-27.
Okay. Do you mind providing the public with an explanation of your table?
Sure. Yes, so I mentioned during work session that I think it allows the public more time. I do know that it's been sent out to them, and I'm very appreciative of like all of the steps that have been taken to be sure that it's, provided to families. I think as from a governance standpoint, since this is our mechanism for people to, one of them, but a formal way for people to be able to come, look at this information, make comments. I think that it would be better if we gave the public some time to think about these. We have shifted from meeting twice a month on different days to, we still have 2 meetings, but they're on the same day. And I just don't think that that provides an ideal amount of time for the public, given that this is the time typically that people would come and share their feedback about the calendar. And also, I mean, I think I'm still thinking through whether we have to do, like, do we have to, I know like historically we have, but what warrants us doing both calendars at the same time, particularly when we have some amendments that I think we make. So that's my rationale.
Okay. All right, so there is a motion.
I'll second it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Dr. Gant has made the motion, and the motion has been seconded by Mr. Denson. So the floor is open if you all have any thoughts on the calendar itself to share with the public or the district. Okay, so, okay, Dr. Yeager?
I was just wondering, from the district's perspective, is there a problem with the month delay in the approving of the calendar?
No, I don't see any problem with that.
All right.
So are we actually ahead of schedule on this?
I believe last year at this time, we did it in, 2 years ago when I arrived, we did it in October at the same time, and previously you did it in October as well.
So
So
we're good.
we're on the
On
right schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, so if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor of tabling to approve the 25, 26, and 26, 27 calendar to next month's meeting. So that would be our November board meeting. Raise your hand high and say aye.
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 All right, all opposed, raise your hand, say nay. So you say no. Can you
Okay,
clar-
I'll vote, no, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have 8 in favor of tabling till next month and 1 opposed. All right, so now we will move forward with yes, we voted for everything, right? Okay, thank you, Mr. Evans. Now we will move forward with item 13, information items and board community reports. Our first is the Early Head Start Policy Council meeting minutes and reports. Mr. Denson, anything to bring to the board?
This report you see here is actually the one, because we're always kind of delayed, back in July, and I think the only important thing I remember from this was approved, I think something that we've already approved on, which was some new hires that have already happened, so.
Okay, all right. Next up is our, does anyone have any questions? Okay. Next up is our Community Oversight Committee report. Ms. Davis?
So the Community Oversight Committee did not meet in October. We have our meeting in November.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Next up is our Sustainability Committee. Dr. Yeager?
So I just noticed that the minutes were not uploaded, so I just emailed them to Ms. Palmer, so maybe she can upload them, or I can also send them around. We're mostly working in subcommittees right now, narrowing down our recommendations. We were given stern lecture by the chairs to try to pull it together and get everything written up in short order. And I know my subcommittee is starting to narrow down from 10 ideas down to the top 2 or 3 and get ready to write. He gave us a template for writing the recommendations that I really liked. So hopefully we'll have a good report for y'all soon.
Thank you so much. All right, are there any questions for Dr. Yeager?
Oh, can I add one thing? I don't know if anybody went to the library where they did the demonstration project. They called it Solar School. There were some photos taken, so maybe I can get a copy of those and share those. I went, and it was really exciting to see both the middle schoolers who were very enthusiastic, but also the Athens Career Academy students really engaged with the solar presentation. They were really, really excited. And it was interesting, he kind of showed them what the solar demand provided to like a pencil sharpener, and then what was the other one was like a fan. And then he had him turn on a hairdryer, and the hairdryer just like sucked all the power down, and all the girls went, oh. So it was just really, it was very much experiential, hands-on, and I think the kids got a lot out of it. It was really exciting.
Awesome, thank you. All right, and now our Athens Community Career Academy report. Mr. Evans?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So they met on October the 8th, and they had the healthcare science pathway update. And last year was their first year, and for the written exam, out of the 22 students who took it, 19 passed, which I think is pretty good for a first time around. Then the skills exam came, and that was 8 out of 18. And the reasoning is that if you do one little thing wrong, that's it. And so a lot of them have gone and retaken that exam and did rather well. And that was fall 2023. In the spring, the written exam, 9 out of 9. And then in the spring, the skills was 10 out of 11. So we are doing really good stuff there. The phlebotomy has been taking off as well. And out of the 14 students who attempted it, 7 passed, but then they retook over the summer. There are a couple of things. They're going to be having a blood drive, so be looking out for that with Dr. Moore's updates. And if you ever want to volunteer your veins for them to practice on, they are always looking for it. And they said I should talk about this now, would be appropriate since, vampires and stuff. So I was like, okay, I can do that. They broke up into committees to find ways to expand the Career Academy, make sure that it is bringing in different funds and things. And again, they have asked that if you have the time and inclination and want to be a volunteer and be a guest speaker, please just contact them, and they would love to have you come in and talk about your business or whatever it is. So, but yeah, that's the Career Academy report.
Okay, thank you. All right, does anyone have any questions? Okay, and our last information item, Envision Athens, Mr. Denson.
Yeah, thank you, and apologies for getting this up here late, but you can see the agenda for our last meeting. We've changed where we're only meeting quarterly, and that's why we haven't had this on the agenda the last couple months. But what we are preparing now with Envision Athens is to renew and review our strategic plan and what our pillars are that Envision Athens will be focusing on. And we'll be undertaking that strategic planning session at the end of the year in December and following into the beginning of 2025. So if folks have any input on different changes and focuses that you think Envision Athens should be on, please let me know and communicate those with me, and I'll be happy to translate those to the rest of the committee during that process.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Denson. Okay, we don't have an executive session tonight, so we'll move on to item 15 to adjourn. I need a motion.
Motion.
All right, motion made by Mr. Evans, second by Ms. Davis. All right, we are adjourned, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you next month.